Several studies have shown that organizations investing in the right HR software have seen significant increase in productivity and employee engagement. So I want to ask this at the very beginning. What are some strategies organizations can use to identify and implement the right HR management software to meet the needs, their specific needs and goals?
What are the needs of people or the employees? What are the needs of business people? What are the needs of HR? So starting from there, and budget. That's a crucial point in choosing the right software. And then I would say as a third point to understand already where we're actually going from here. So preparing for the next stage, so either the scalability or you need to have different APIs. So depending where you are with your company or the organization where you're heading, so looking few steps ahead already. So actually making decisions today, what you need to have in place in 2 or 3 years. So that's basically the roadmap you need to take.
How do we integrate HR software tools to ensure a smooth transition? But actually, how do you get people to use it, right? What are some tips and tricks that we can use so that there's not just this dead software kind of sitting around?
HR has a bit of a tradition to make decisions by themselves in a silo within HR, at least this is my experience. So getting out of that silo, I think that's the most critical point. Already when you're starting the sort of sourcing the different solutions or different softwares, take the employees with you, as Shailin said. So take the employees or other stakeholders as well in order to do the analysis, run the demos or see the demos, get the feedback. How would you see this sort of, if we would take this into use in our organization, would you actually use it or what kind of feedback would you have? And then I think after the decision, I think it comes to the key point as is same in the leadership, communication on all levels. So it's not that tricky in a way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it sounds like in order to get out of board is that we have to start with leadership, right? Get leadership involved and then open this so that everyone is part of the process along the way. But there are perks, right, of having this, and automation is definitely one of them, right? It's one of the biggest perks of implementing a reliable HR management software and can reduce time spent on HR administrative tasks by up to 40%. I read a Deloitte report that found that 56% of organizations are redesigning their HR programs to leverage digital and mobile tools. So I asked, how can HR management software help streamline critical processes such as recruitment, onboarding, performance management, payroll, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
And I think it all starts from the data perspective, whether you have a coherent data, you have up-to-date data in all of the systems. So I think I would basically start from the putting together the HRIS system so that you actually have all the data for the admin side, for the payroll side, and then start leveraging from there, automating, as Shailin said. The recruitment side is you can basically automate the screening, you can basically automate the communication, all the sort of talent matching, the evaluation of the candidates, even the emails back and forth, also the references. So basically you can run the recruitment side. Well, the sourcing is always a bit trickier, but then we discussed before we started that everybody's facing challenges with sourcing. So if anybody has good ideas for automating that side, I think there's a lot of interested people here. And then from the other side, you're going to automate sort of the pulse surveys or the engagement surveys, getting feedback or peer feedback for the people as well, which will also increase then the employee engagement side and have a huge impact on the well-being. So you can basically run automated HR from the pulse, understanding how people are doing, what kind of feedback they are giving each other, what kind of networks there are, also what kind of teams there are, or how can you actually develop the teams and so forth. And as said, but start with the data and the core of the HRIS system and build from there. Depends what you need. As said, different companies, different industry, different situations, so you have different needs.
Yeah.
Sounds like a practical example of how HR process automation have successfully been implemented. Can you share other ways that of successful implementations of automation that have sort of helped, and what are kind of key benefits of that?
So from my past SaaS company for the mental well-being, so that's basically automating and set the whole pulse survey and individual feedback and the organizational reporting. So you don't need to spend any time or manual work on analyzing where we actually have some challenges in the organization. And I think I would also challenge a bit the way we recruit today. So what we do, for example, what we did when we were recruiting salespeople. So we actually used for screening as well some automated psychology assessments as well. So instead of checking the CVs and so forth, so we actually automated the full screening part using just assessments there. So there are some means to cover that side as well. So.
And do you, sorry, may I ask you if you automate the screening process?
Yeah.
Wow.
Through the work psychology assessments.
Has anyone been able to find the sort of secret sauce for implementing this with hybrid employees, those who don't spend that much time in the office, and yeah, because I mean that's a conversation that we sort of seem to keep happening.
I think what you said, communication.
Cool. I want to shift to data because I think that is where we're going to go here. But so when we shift, I want to talk both about inherent fears, but also possibilities that exist when companies leverage data to make more informed decisions. So HR professionals often spend their workdays identifying new strategies and improving workplaces and employees' experiences, but they need accurate insight and data to determine whether their efforts work and how to implement efficient policies. So according to Forbes, 70% of high-performing organizations use data analytics in their HR processes compared to only 30% of lower-performing organizations. So clearly this is working. So how can HR management software be leveraged to utilize data and analytics effectively for better decision-making? And while you're answering this, if you could also share specific examples of how good data has influenced strategic HR decisions in your organizations, both past and present.
Siloed HR, so maybe this gets back to the data as well. So quite often in my experience, HR is only looking after the HR data. Churn, how fast, what was the sort of through rate of our recruitment process and so forth. So, but really HR to be like credible player in the management team, you need to sort of complement the HR data with business-related financials data, sales data. Start understanding the cross references there. What's the, for example, if you would implement a new system, what's the ROI or what's the impact of, what's the benefit actually for the business results? So I think this is the core for us as HR people or people working in HR domain, that we actually start looking outside the HR domain and understand that HR is, if we want to be as key players in the management team or C-level, C-suite, we need to understand the full business and take all the business data complement with the HR data as well. And I think some examples where what I faced is, for example, analyzing management teams, for example, understanding the team work or team compositions or people's potential. So utilizing analytics or data there. So basically the companies have decided to switch the CEOs, for example. That we have a CEO who might be not really sort of benefiting for the whole management team and so forth, or he or she doesn't have the potential really to fulfill the role and so forth. So this is what you can actually do with when you have good analytics or good data of people and the teams.
Yeah.
Well, that leads us to our next thing, right? How do we create safety? So as HR management software increasingly collects, stores, and analyzes employee data, several fears have emerged from leaked performance feedbacks, salaries, overall personal well-being, data privacy in the workspace has become a paramount concern, right? I think that we can kind of agree. So how should organizations navigate the balance between leveraging HR data for improved decision-making and also ensuring data privacy protections? And we can kind of, in the interest of time, sort of compound this with, so what's the balance? How do we strike that balance? But what features should they look for, in a management tool? and more specifically, who should be responsible for that? who should have access to that information?
CEO, just a reminder for HR people, let's remember who will be then in the court if something goes wrong.
Yes.
I mean, so what I'm hearing though is that we should limit access, right, to who has this information, and ensure from a leadership standpoint that information is secure and hopefully doesn't be used against you or leaked in any way. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
This was good, huh?